me down a comment and say, hey, Avery, have you read any of those books that you made a whole video about? No? Shame on you. And that's the kind of pressure that I need. I need to be bullied into doing things that are good for me. Hey, what's up you guys? It's Avery and welcome back to my channel. I hope that you... Whoa, I don't even know. I just went into robot mode and I have absolutely no idea what was going to come out of my mouth next. I hope that you what? I hope that you enjoy. I mean, that's true. I just don't know what I was gonna say there. Welcome back to my channel. If you've never been here before, welcome. Glad you made it. Today's video is inspired by some other videos that I've seen recently on my feed, and that is people talking about their TBR, their upcoming books they want to read, or, you know, things that they're looking forward to reading. And so I'm doing that, but I'm putting a little spin on it. And I'm doing a TBR, but it's mainly books that I'm embarrassed that I haven't read yet. So I am just exposing myself and talking about how I am dumb for this. This is just me putting these opinions on myself. I want to say that I don't think that you should ever feel pressured to read anything. The only reason I feel embarrassed that I haven't read these books is simply the length of time that they've been sitting on my shelf. While other books have come and gone, these books have just been patiently waiting it out, hoping that I will eventually pick them up one day, and I still haven't. So that's why I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed at myself because I have continued to pass over them even though they've done nothing to me. I think I'm just a big mood reader, and a lot of the times these books aren't exactly what I'm looking for, aren't the vibe, and that's why I kind of pass on them. But I'm going to try to read them, you know, soon. Maybe, I'm not going to say by the end of the year, because I'm about to be really busy in the next upcoming months and I don't want to put that pressure on myself. But I want to read a few of them before the end of the year so that I can stop feeling guilty every time I look at them on my shelf. So once again, I want to say, I'm embarrassed I haven't read these, but it's because of my own faults, not because I feel like you should feel pressured to read anything. There are so many books that are popular that I just know I will never read because I don't want to subscribe to this idea that we should be reading certain things, or you're not smart if you haven't read these classic books. It's like, no, read whatever you want, and if it happens to be something popular or if it happens to be something classic, then good for you. But if not, whatever. Without further ado, let's hop into it. I'm going to start with the oldest books on my shelf, and not ones that I've had the longest, but the oldest in existence, and that is some classics that I still haven't read. So I'm going to start with my biggest embarrassment, probably, and I'm just going to really expose myself, and that is Emma and Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. So, if you know me, you know I'm a fan of J.A., okay? As you can see from the shelf right here, I have a whole shelf dedicated to her, and that little space right there is where these books were. So if you see random holes in my shelf, it's because I've been pulling books for this video. But I have read all 4 of her other novels, but I have not read Mansfield Park or Emma. And I like to say that it's because I know that once I finish her last 2 novels, I will never have another novel by her to read again for the first time. I'm not sure that that's true. That might just be some bullshit. It simply could be that I just have been too lazy to read something harder to read, you know? Like, I firmly believe that Jane Austen is not that hard to read or understand. And I think that people are probably more intimidated by them than they should be. But, you know, it is easier to read something modern. And so that's probably why. I've just been lazy and I just need to read them. I will probably read Emma first because I've seen multiple movie adaptations of Emma and I know the story of Emma. So this one is not much of a surprise for me. I kind of know what this book is about and how it ends. Mansfield Park, I really don't know anything about Mansfield Park other than the main character's name is Fanny, which is unfortunate. So I will probably save this one for last because I will kind of want the last one that I read to be a surprise. And so those are the 2 Jane Austen books that I haven't read yet, and honestly, it's embarrassing. The next one is another classic. This is the last classic. I'm not going to talk about too many classics. There's a lot that I haven't read that I would like to read, but the one that has been on my shelf for a long time that I just have not committed to is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. So I started reading this book probably last year, maybe the beginning of last year, and I don't know why I couldn't get into it. You can see where my bookmark is. That's as far as I got. But I know that this book is like so beloved and it's just a classic. I know, okay? I think part of me wasn't really into it because this book is very moody and it's very different from Jane Austen, and I think I had been reading a lot of Jane Austen at the time. So when I started reading this, I was like, what's going on? Like, why is it nighttime all the time? Why is it dark? Why is it kind of depressing, moody? I didn't even really get into the meat of it, so I know that I need to give it another shot before I jump to conclusions. Like, I need to figure out what all this Heathcliff nonsense is about. Why does everyone love Heathcliff? Also, what a name. Okay, the next section we're going to is books that have been on my shelf for probably the longest, and because I've had them for so long from my youth, they are going to be the YA books. There are a few YA books that I've had since I was a YA and I still haven't read. Some I've picked up in my adulthood, but either way, I need to read these three. The first one is probably the book that I've had for the longest that I'm going to talk about in this video. That's literally just been sitting on my shelf for years and years and years, and I just have not picked up. And it is I Am Messenger by Markus Zusak. So Markus Zusak is the man, the myth, the legend who wrote The Book Thief, which is so good. The Book Thief is amazing. And so I don't know where I saw this book. I think it was probably at a thrift store or Goodwill or something. And obviously I recognized his name and I was like, well, if he wrote The Book Thief, which was amazing, I should read this book by him. It will probably also be amazing. And so I did that. I picked it up and that was the last of that. It's different from The Book Thief in that it's not historical fiction. It says Ed Kennedy is an underage cab driver without much of a future. He's pathetic at playing cards, hopelessly in love with his best friend Audrey, and utterly devoted to his coffee-drinking dog, the doorman. His life is one of peaceful routine and incompetence until he inadvertently stops a bank robbery. That's when the first ace arrives in the mail. That's when Ed becomes the messenger. Chosen to care, he makes his way through town, helping and hurting when necessary, until only one question remains. Who's behind Ed's mission? So it's kind of like, what is that about? I don't really know. Sounds like it's about this kid who kind of gets involved in this interesting scene where he is acting as a messenger for somebody, but he doesn't know who that somebody is or what's going on. I swear it's been just sitting on my shelf for probably 6 or 7 years. That long. The next book is a YA book that I know tons of people have read and loved, and this book was probably popular like back near the origins of BookTube, and that is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. I've also had this book for a really long time. I think I also started it once and then I don't remember why I put it back down, but I know that a lot of people really, really love this series. That is another thing, is it's a series, and sometimes I don't feel super great about like starting a book that's in a series because I don't want to have to commit to an entire series. I really enjoy standalone books, and so I think that could be part of why I've been hesitant to start it. But I read the Shiver trilogy by Maggie Stiefvater and loved it. I have to stop talking about my mom on this channel. People think I have no friends. I have friends, but my mom is the only person, well, my mom is my best friend, but she's also the only person in my life who reads. So that is why I mention her so often on my channel. I know, I'll never stop, okay? I won't. But my mom and I both read that series a long time ago and both really loved it, really enjoyed it. So that is why I trust Maggie to be a good writer. I just need to give this one a go. It's about this girl named Blue, and her mom is like clairvoyant and can talk to the dead and see ghosts and stuff. And she ends up meeting this boy who goes to this private school. She ends up meeting him and kind of being drawn to him, and for as long as she can remember, Blue has been warned that she will cause her true love to die. She doesn't believe in true love and never thought this would be a problem. But as her life becomes caught up in the strange and sinister world of the Raven Boys, the boys from the prep school, she's not so sure anymore. I hate the cover with such a strong passion. It's really one of the worst covers I've ever seen. Why do the boys look like that? They look half like cartoons, half real. The Raven's kind of cool, but in general, the cover is pretty despicable. But I know that I need to read it because I know it's very popular and many people love it. And the last YA book that I have yet to read but really want to is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. And this is a book that I heard about from Hannah from A Clockwork Reader on BookTube. She has been one of my favorite booktubers that I've watched for a long time, and this is one of her favorite books, I think, of all time. It's kind of one of her favorite YA fantasy series, and so I love a good YA fantasy, to be honest. I've been more into that recently, and so I need to go ahead and do this one. I've had this one for maybe a year. It's in this world that is inspired by ancient Rome, and a girl named Leia lives there, and it's basically this empire that is in charge of the land. They do not challenge the empire, but when Leia's brother is arrested for treason, Leia is forced to make a decision. In exchange for help from rebels who promise to rescue her brother, she will risk her life to spy for them from within the empire's greatest military academy. There she meets Elias, the school's finest soldier, and secretly its most unwilling. So I'm sure that love happens there, but it's about them trying to take down an empire, and I love that. So the last two books I'm going to talk about are two historical fiction books that are more recently added to my shelves but have still been sitting there for a while. And the first one is The Zookeeper's Wife by Diane Ackerman. So this is a historical fiction based during World War II. After their zoo was bombed, Polish zookeepers Jan and Antonina Zabinski managed to save over 300 people from the Nazis by hiding refugees in empty animal cages. With animal names for these guests and human names for the animals, it's no wonder that the zoo's codename became The House Under a Crazy Star. It is a novel, but it's based on a true story. Plus, I know that there's a movie adaptation, and one thing I really love doing is reading a book and then watching the movie adaptation to compare the two. And so when I eventually do that, I think I'll want to make a whole video about it. The fact that they saved hundreds of people from the Nazis by hiding them in cages is like such an insane situation, and it's such a interesting juxtaposition of trying to save these people's lives by putting them in cages. And anyway, so I'm really excited to read it. I really want to. I haven't yet. Okay, I'm so sorry. This book actually isn't that long, which you guys know I love a short book, so maybe I will pick that one up soon. And the last book that I have to talk about is probably, I think it's the most recent find, but I've still had it for a while, and it is Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. I've been talking about wanting to read this ever since I got it. I don't even remember when I got it. Earlier this year, I think, but a big reason why I haven't read it probably is the size. It doesn't look like it's that thick, but it is like 500 pages, and I can't do it. Like, I do so badly with books that are longer than 350 pages. I've been a little scared to do it, I think, because if I don't get invested right away, then I just don't think I'm able to make it all the way through. But it says, in the early 1900s, teenage Sunja, the adorable daughter of a crippled fisherman, falls for a wealthy stranger at the seashore near her home in Korea. He promises her the world, but when she discovers she's pregnant and that her lover is married, she refuses to be bought. Instead, she accepts an offer of marriage from a gentle, sickly minister passing through on his way to Japan. But her decision to abandon her home and to reject her son's powerful father sets off a dramatic saga that will echo down through the generations. It sounds so good. So I know that I'll probably enjoy it. I know it's so popular. It also has a TV series that has, I think, came out this year, which I'm sure I would love watching after I read the book. I think that it follows like generations of this family, which I haven't read many stories that do that, so I'm kind of interested to see what that's like. Okay, you guys, so those are the books that have been sitting on my shelf for years and I just haven't gotten to, and I'm embarrassed and ashamed of myself because I keep passing them up in favor of more shiny, more new things, which is unfair and not cool. So I need people to hold me responsible and hold me accountable. If you are a subscriber and you watch my videos consistently, you know, in the next few weeks, next time I post a video, throw me down a comment and say, hey, Avery, have you read any of those books that you made a whole video about? No? Shame on you. And that's the kind of pressure that I need. I need to be bullied into doing things that are good for me. Thanks for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more videos from me in the future. Leave a comment down below if you've read any of these books. If you haven't, leave a comment letting me know what's a book that you have had sitting on your shelf for a long time that you just have not gotten to, even though you really do want to read it. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Peace.